Have you ever worked for a boss so arrogant, so completely full of himself, that you secretly wished karma would just knock him down a peg, or 10? Well, this is the story of Dick, a team leader who thought he was smarter than everyone else. He strutted around like he owned the place, treated people like dirt, and then, when he tried to scam the very company he worked for, karma didn't just knock. It kicked the door down and dragged him straight to rock bottom. If you've ever dreamed of seeing workplace bullies finally get what's coming to them, hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up. Because this revenge story isn't just satisfying, it's downright delicious. About 10 years ago, I was working in the office of a large UK supermarket chain. Now, corporate life isn't glamorous, but it's bearable, unless of course you've got a boss like Dick. And yes, that's not his real name, but trust me, it fits. Dick was our team leader, and he was the worst kind of manager you could imagine. He had this ironclad, I'm always right attitude. If he said the sky was green, then by God it was green. Didn't matter if you had proof otherwise, he'd make you feel like you were the idiot. And when people got sick, instead of a simple, hope you feel better, Dick would pry. He'd corner you with these grossly invasive questions. What exactly was wrong with you? What meds were you taking? Even stuff that was downright personal. He seemed to enjoy making people squirm. The guy had this smugness, this constant need to remind us he was above us. But one day the company promoted him, thankfully, to a different team. His new position was in the data department, so we figured we'd seen the last of him. We actually celebrated when he left our team. But of course Dick couldn't resist. With his shiny new promotion, he started running reports on us, his old team, watching our productivity, micromanaging from afar. It wasn't even his job anymore, but he did it anyway just to mess with us. The hatred for him became universal. If there was one person everyone agreed they couldn't stand, it was him. Now here's where the story takes a turn. In our stores there was a pricing glitch. Meat was scanning at double the normal price. Mistakes like this happened every once in a while, but we had a policy in place. If a customer was overcharged, not only would they get refunded, but they'd also get double the overcharge back and keep the product. Sounds fair, right? A little oops, our bad gift for the customer. Well, Dick saw this not as a policy of goodwill, but as an opportunity to line his own pockets. So after work one evening, he marched into one of the company's stores. And not just for a casual shop. Oh no, this man loaded his cart like a kid in a candy store. Steaks, lamb, pork, chicken. If it once walked, he tossed it in the trolley. He knew that every single item would scan incorrectly. And when the cashier caught the error, he acted like a clueless customer, as though he had no idea. They told him to head over to customer service. But here's where Dick's arrogance betrayed him. Because standing behind that counter was a former colleague. Someone who used to work in the office with us. Someone who knew exactly who he was. She clocked him immediately. And she also clocked his scam. Instead of handing over the money, she quietly slipped away and told her manager, "This guy's trying to pull a fast one." So the manager stepped in. He approached Dick calmly and said, "I understand you've been overcharged on some meat?" Dick, puffed up like a peacock, replied, "Yes, and I want the refund, double the difference." But the manager wasn't about to roll over. He asked, "Did the cashier tell you about the overcharge before scanning everything?" Dick hesitated, then smirked. "Yes, she did. And I was told to come here." That's when the manager tightened the net. Because here's the rule. If a customer knows about the glitch beforehand and tries to exploit it, they don't get the double refund. They just get the basic correction. In other words, no free meat bonanza. So the manager looked Dick dead in the eye and said, "If you were informed beforehand, we can only refund the actual overcharge. That's policy." Now, most people would cut their losses. But not Dick. Oh no. His ego couldn't handle it. He exploded. "This is ridiculous. I know the policy. I manage the policies across the UK." You could practically hear the record scratch. The manager tilted his head and replied, "Excuse me? And how exactly do you manage the policies?" Dick puffed up even more. "I work in head office. I'm not some little skivvy." At this point the manager played it cool. He feigned respect, pretending to grovel. "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Can I just see your staff card?" Dick, now smug again, handed it over without hesitation. The manager stepped away, telling him, "I'll just go sort this out with petty cash." But instead of opening the cash drawer, he picked up the phone. And who did he call? Our office. Dick's old team. We answered, and the first question was simple. "Do you have a manager by the name of Dick?" We nearly laughed out loud. Then they asked for his boss. Dick's boss came on the line. The store manager explained what was happening, and his response was short and sharp. "Can you ask him to step into your office? I need to talk to him." And that was it. Dick was fired on the spot. No drawn-out HR process. No slap on the wrist. Just gone. Worse still, they made it clear. He wouldn't be getting a reference. And if he tried? The only thing it would say was that he'd been dismissed for fraud against the company. Aftermath. From 40K to Domino's. Word spread fast. The office was buzzing with it the next morning. Dick, the guy who lorded over everyone who thought he was untouchable, had gone from a £40,000 a year job to working at a Domino's pizza. And the cherry on top? Once staff found out which Domino's he worked at, they'd go in and order meat feast pizzas. Every single time. They made sure to ask for extra meat too, just to rub salt in the wound. The man who tried to scam meat out of the company was now serving it up for minimum wage. Karma served piping hot. The best part of this revenge isn't just that Dick lost his cushy job. It's the poetic justice of it all. This man spent years making other people feel small. He abused his authority, used company policies as a weapon, and thought he was smarter than everyone else. But in the end, his arrogance was his undoing. He exposed himself. He handed over his own staff card. He practically gift-wrapped his career and tossed it straight into the shredder. And the image of him, red-faced, standing in that store office while his boss fired him, is something I'll never forget. If this story teaches us anything, it's this: arrogance doesn't protect you, it blinds you. When you treat people like dirt, eventually you'll trip over your own ego. And when you do, karma has a way of making sure the fall is spectacular. If this story gave you chills, or maybe even a laugh, smash that like button and let us know in the comments. What's the most satisfying case of workplace karma you've ever seen? And of course, subscribe for more revenge stories that prove one thing: karma never forgets.